Hey guys, this is Whyt Manga. New video on how to draw manga, but in this video, I'm going to focus on the frontal face, and it's going to be narrated, obviously. If not, what are you hearing? So this video, as a model, the same way, similar to how I do most of my other videos, I'm going to use a character from Apple Black. I'm going to use the main character, Sano, as a model for this video. And even though I said frontal face is frontal, but it's not 100% frontal, because if you want to be drawing like dynamic, you're going to be drawing like dynamic drawings and stuff like that. It's very rare that somebody looks at you directly in the middle, unless something stylistic is going on. So it's somewhat of a rare case, but it's still possible, but still rare in a way. So that's what this video is basically going to be. Heads up, I've kind of done just drawing manga face before, and it was just in one angle, and with time, I'll do more. There will be more stuff to show, and more videos to make. Recently I've been coming up with a lot of ideas, and I will execute. But the reason this video came to mind is kind of like me wanting to kill two birds with one stone, and I wanted to do a different tutorial, and I realized I was drawing somewhat of a frontal face, and I wanted to make a video like this anyways. So I'm kind of cutting the tutorial in half, where in this video I'll focus on the character itself and draw the face, and do a tutorial on that. But the reason why I'm actually focusing on the body a little bit here as well is because I wanted to make a video that's going to focus on drawing folds, like how to draw clothing. So in this video, Santa is going to be somewhat naked, I guess, but no clothing. And eventually, in the clothing video on how to draw folds, I'll add everything else. So that's going to be a future video, most likely the next video. So y'all can stay tuned to that. And if you're watching this video maybe weeks after its release, then the folds video is already out, and I'll have it attached to this video in the about section, or as an annotation. It'll pop up on the screen somewhere right about now. So y'all can check that out, or you can check that out after you watch this, and maybe on that video I'll also link back to this as well, if you're interested in wanting to see how I draw Sano and I come up with the body, because coming up with the body is going to be part of that tutorial. So there'll be a kind of linking back and forth between this and that one. So basically I'm drawing frontal, just gonna get into a frontal face pretty soon, and for obvious reasons, it's just a basic manga face, and it's going to be done in real time. So I'll be narrating, kind of like trying to capture where my mind was when I was drawing the character in the first place. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, now hopping into this video, most of you know I try to start with like an egg-like shape of the head, and here I'm going in with the ears. Just remember that it's not exactly like the egg, and you kind of have to define the jaw just a little bit. Now the character I'm drawing is a little young, so the jaws are not going to be too defined, and they're going to be pretty loose. So after adding the ears, I'm going in with the hair. Now this is Santa. Before I talk about the hair at all, keep in mind that the height of the ears, like at the top of the ear, is going to be around the same height with where the eyebrows are going to be. But you're going to see that in a second, because I haven't drawn the eyebrows at all yet. But yeah, so I'm just going in with the ears, kind of defining that jaw a little bit more, and fooling around with the hair, just making it more, adding some highlights to the hair. And basically I just do that with a white space and having some lines go through it to indicate the strands of hair. So here I like to going in, just the eye, those are the lines for like the eyes, and that's kind of the vertical lines, kind of just indicating where I'm gonna have the nose a little bit. So it's a frontal view, but it's not exactly 100% frontal, because that's actually very rare, unless you're drawing like a character bio, or drawing one of those, drawing the same character from different angles, creating some kind of like character design development board. So drawing the eyebrows at the top, and I'm following that line that I drew, vertical line in the middle, to create the nose. You can see this is basically almost done. you've noticed when people are creating comics and they don't take, creating these comics and creating a lot of pages. Drawing faces is one thing that you kind of have to learn and draw fast if you want to create comics, and you want to have it released at a good pace. Drawing the mouth, going in with the mouth, slightly below the nose. Now here's a little guide to how I have drawn, how I've come up with this, and you can see how there is a good space in between, both eyes, unless the character has their eyes really close together. Because remember that when you're drawing different characters, everybody, if you want to be realistic with it, everybody kind of has a different facial structure. But for this, basic, simple, young anime boy character, which is Sano here, I'm keeping the eyes, giving them a distance away from each other, right? They're not too close. And the eyeballs, if you were drawing it 100%, right, the left side of the face or the right side of the face would be very symmetrical. So even though we're moving just slightly to the left, at least slightly to his left, and more slightly to us, slightly to the right, you kind of have to still position them in a way that you're giving them the distance, but the nose is going to help really differentiate where he's looking, and the direction he's facing, and how he's not exactly looking at us 100%. Now the green line kind of represents the guidelines, even though I didn't really use them, but you can look at them, and if that helps you, then fine. Like the first horizontal line is kind of like for the eyebrows, and the next is kind of just like a vague range of where the eyes would either start, or maybe they started slightly above and will go below maybe a little more. But that's like where the eye itself is going to be, right? You can see that the skin covers the eye. The eye is really a circle, right? The eye is really a circle, and it's behind the skin. But that's so the second horizontal line is kind of like where maybe the eyeballs are, or the iris, or the pupils, or whatever. Kind of like a vague idea of where those will begin. And then you have the third horizontal line, which is kind of like the tip of the nose, and the last one being for the mouth. So that's like an idea of where I put things. And for some characters it's going to be different. There's some characters maybe you want their jaw to be really big, so the red outline for kind of signaling the head, the shape of the head, could be much different. So it's kind of like you're using these guidelines you morph these guidelines based on the kind of character you're drawing, or you're coming up with. So what I want you guys to notice is the red lines for the nose. Now the way I've drawn the nose, even though the green line is kind of like in front of the red for the right side of the nose, at least from our view, and it's kind of like above it, but just imagine there's a red line there, and that's kind of like just indicating the bridge of the nose. And we're not going to show the one on the left, right? We're not going to show the one on the left because his head is kind of like, he's not looking at us directly, right? So he's looking at us, his head is kind of like moving a little bit to his left, but that's all right. And if the character's head is moving to let's say our right, that's the line we see. We don't see the line on the other side. And this is not like this is like my style. This is not like some realistic style. This is like a very simplified, very manga Japanese inspired kind of style, and this is my style really. So because his head is faced towards direction, that's the side of the nose that we're actually going to draw and see, and you can add in nostrils. As you can see, that some manga and anime styles do not add nostrils. When it comes to styles, maybe that's another video that I'll go into, and maybe how to develop your own style, so you can stay tuned for that as well. But for this video, I just want to keep in mind that there's like a part of the bridge that you don't show, unless it's a stylistic thing you want to do. and you want to show both lines indicating the bridge of the nose. But an example of that would be maybe Oda's One Piece for Nico Robin, right? But it's more of a stylistic thing, because no matter where she faces, both lines indicating that bridge of the nose are shown. Now sometimes if the character even though this character is not facing us directly 100%, let's just imagine it is for a second. Sometimes some styles especially, they wouldn't draw any bridge, any line indicating the bridge of the nose at all. They would just have it like this. And sometimes maybe they don't use a line, they would use an actual shade. So maybe if the light source is coming from above, you see some shade below the nose. If the light source is coming from the left, you see a shade on the, if the light source coming from the left, you see a shade on the right to indicate the bridge of the nose. But sometimes you can use lines, and in my case where it's manga and I don't use that much tone, even though I do use tone in my pages, there would be, I just use a line there. Sometimes I use a line and a tone, it depends. But some people wouldn't use tones at all, and they would just have the nose, they would just allow the reader kind of imagine the bridge of the nose by themselves. And if you're drawing the character from a side view, that's where you really get to see the shape of the character's nose. But the front view is left pretty simplistic, kind of like this. Again, remember, if you were drawing 100%, it will most likely be symmetrical unless the character is deformed in some way. So you got to keep that in mind as well. Another thing to keep in mind, this is all style stuff, right? You can really take what I'm saying and kind of bend the rules and break them to how you want it. It's really up to you for the most part. Lastly, one tip I'll give you guys is you kind of have to practice this stuff. I don't want anyone trying to learn to think that you can just watch YouTube. When I was starting, I watched YouTube videos as well, but I had to go out and practice these things. So you have to actually practice and understand and change, kind of not just practice what you see, kind of like experiment, whether it's in your style or look at other styles and try to experiment, combine things, and try to understand why certain lines are drawn the way they're drawn. Understand why certain lines are done the way they are. And play around with it, not just rely on maybe just one video, and try to understand it from different angles. Some people will like to say maybe you can draw real people from a frontal view of real people first, like realistic drawings, and maybe that'll help you when you're trying to draw something simplistic. Kind of trying to teach the idea that once you know the rules, you can break them. But that's pretty much it for this video. This was Sano. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something from it. To some of you, some of the things I said may not be new at all, but in general, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe for more videos. Stay tuned for the video on clothing and folds and things like that. So like this video, subscribe to the channel. Please, check out Apple Black. That's my comic. You can read the first 4 chapters free on Saturday AM. So links are below in the about section to what Saturday AM is, or what Apple Black is, or all the other comics on Saturday AM are. You can check that out. I'll leave links to everything below, and you can check out my social media, Twitter, Facebook, and all that. But don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Those are the things that really help the YouTube channel out. I'm really trying to take this YouTube channel to new heights. So yeah, that's Whyt Manga. Stay tuned, and I'm outie.